We now take a close look at the tariff war between the United States and China. A lot is going on. This is where tariffs are the weapons and the average Americans appear to be the collateral damage. US President Donald Trump is threatening an additional 50% tariff on Chinese imports unless Beijing backs down from its own retaliatory measures. But China is not blinking. In fact, it's hitting back, promising to quote-unquote fight to the end.
The actions of the US side have not demonstrated any genuine willingness for serious dialogue. If the US truly wishes to engage in talks, it should adopt an attitude of equality, mutual respect and reciprocity. If it persists in disregarding the common interests of both countries and the international community and insists on escalating the trade and tariff conflict, China will, as always, fight to the end.
Now, this is not just another political standoff across the Pacific. This is a full-blown economic standoff between the world's two largest economies that are deeply intertwined. For China, the US is a top market for electronics, machinery, furniture, toys. For America, China buys massive volumes of oil seeds, grains, aircraft, pharmaceuticals. But before we go any further at this point, it's important to understand how we got here in the first place. Last week, US President Donald Trump slapped a 34% tariff on Chinese goods, adding to the tariffs he had already levied earlier, bringing the total tariffs to 54%. And Trump did not stop there, by the way. In a post on his Truth Social account, Trump warned that if China does not pull back its 34% retaliatory tax, he will pile on an additional 50%, pushing the US tariffs on Chinese imports to 104%. And China responded with immediate countermeasures. Besides Beijing announcing a 34% duty on US imports, it suspended shipments of poultry, bone meal from 6 American companies and blacklisted 27 US firms. In fact, China placed export curbs on key rare earth elements, prohibited exports of dual-use items to a dozen US entities. According to experts, China has been prepared for such a scenario. According to them, Beijing has diversified its markets, ramped up domestic consumption, and developed supply chains that don't rely heavily on the United States market, and hence is retaliating with equal measure. But the question remains, who is the one likely to be impacted the most by this trade war? It's the average American, after all. According to economic researchers, the cost of Trump's tariffs for American households could range anywhere from $4,000 to $8,000 per year, impacting their weekly groceries, education fees, monthly utility bills, among others. And with families living paycheck to paycheck in a way, feeling its impact first and the worst, the cost of everyday staples from oats to bananas is expected to get higher. Imported electronics, clothing, toys, even auto parts from China will become considerably more expensive. The US does not just rely on Chinese imports for phones or toys, building materials, textile, critical household goods also flow in from across the Pacific. And according to experts, replacing such products by simply producing them in America is not that straightforward. It's not that easy. It will take decades to rebuild domestic supply chains for such products, adding that even if such a scenario does exist, inflation would be inevitable. American businesses are rushing to secure alternate suppliers. Others are preparing to downside. That means layoffs are on the table, and American jobs are at risk. So is this trade war with China looking less like a tactical move and more like a strategic blunder by Trump? Or is it the other way around? China is not collapsing under these tariffs for now. In fact, its stock markets bounced back earlier today. The Hang Seng Index surged 2%. The Shanghai Composite gained 0.3%. The blue chip CSI 300 index climbed 0.2%. US stocks have also opened higher, setting the stage for a rebound. The Dow rose 1,360 points, or 3.6%. The broader S&P 500 has also gained. So here we are, two economic giants locked in this high-stake battle. One is threatening, the other is retaliating, and vice versa. And caught in the crossfire is the average consumer, who did not, of course, start the fight, but appears likely to pay the price for it. The question still is, who blinks first? Will the White House reconsider its policy? Will Beijing double down? We'll have to wait and watch. Elon Musk has completed his first 100 days in the Trump administration, which also means 100 days of him heading the White House's Department of Government Efficiency. What do Americans feel at this point? U.S. citizens in various parts have graded the world's richest man and the department led by him from a range of A to F, while some called it fantastic, even praised the department for the efforts it has taken to cut down corruption. Many slammed it as inhumane and disgusting. There were some who vented out their frustration, in fact, at Musk's leadership, with one of them calling the department the worst thing to ever happen to our country, quote unquote. But how did things reach this point? U.S. President Donald Trump, remember, created the department with an aim to streamline government operations, cutting waste and slash federal spending. And as per the department's social media account, the task force led by Musk is said to have saved billions of dollars by cancelling diversity, equity and inclusion contracts, among other expenses. As of March 27, on its official website, the department claimed it has saved close to a total of $130 billion of American taxpayers' money, reportedly. Musk's department is also rife with controversy, be it mass firings or severe cost-cutting measures, and the latest being the accusation leveled against the department of snooping on U.S. federal workers using AI. In an exclusive Reuters report, the department has been charged with using AI tools like the AI chatbot developed by Musk himself to allegedly surveil on at least one federal agency's communication. Scientists have successfully brought back genetically engineered wolves that resemble the extinct dire wolf, sparking both awe and controversy. It's an astonishing feat of genetic engineering, but should we be playing God, as it has been said? Take a look.
They ruled the Ice Age. Now they're back. Scientists have revived the legendary dire wolf, an apex predator. Unseen for 13,000 years is back. It's not a fantasy. It's not fiction. It's happening right now. These are the Romulus and Remus having DNA that biotechnology company. Colossal Biosciences says closely resemble that of the extinct dire wolf.
So, yes, they have slightly genetically modified wolves, maybe. And that's probably the best that you're going to get. And those slight modifications seem to have been derived from retrieved direwolf material. Does that make it a direwolf? No. Does it make a slightly modified gray wolf? Yes. And that's probably about it.
These wolves were larger and more robust than their modern relatives, the gray wolves. They roamed across the Americas before extinction wiped them out around 9,500 years ago. Colossal's team extracted ancient DNA from fossils, including a 13,000-year-old tooth found in Ohio and a 72,000-year-old skull fragment from Idaho.
To de-extinct something would be to bring that evolutionary lineage back into existence, and that would cause a gap where that species was, there's a gap when it isn't, and now that species exists again. What they've done is use genetic engineering to make a gray wolf superficially resemble a dire wolf, or at least what we think dire wolves might have looked like, because we're not really sure what that is either.
These three genetically engineered wolves are now trotting, sleeping, and howling in an undisclosed secure location in the U.S., according to the company that aims to bring back lost species. But not everyone is celebrating. Ecologists and ethicists are sounding alarms about tampering with evolutionary history. Reintroducing extinct species, they argue, could disrupt delicate ecosystems already under stress from human activity and climate change. There's also the question of what comes next. If dire wolves return, will mammoths follow? Saber-toothed tigers? What safeguards, if any, exist? Well, Colossal says it's just getting started. The company has plans to bring back the woolly mammoth by 2028, the age of resurrection. Science has begun, sparking awe, fear, and fierce debate. What was once the domain of myth and fiction is now reality. However, the question is, what new foreign components are created in the genetic process? The concerns go well beyond ethical boundaries.